What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a video today to discuss several high-profile goalkeepers publicly complaining about the Adidas Testar 18, the new match ball for the upcoming FIFA World Cup to be held in Russia. Now, I've had the Testar 18 match ball since November, back when it first launched. Lots of experience with the product, and I want to discuss whether or not I think these complaints that these goalkeepers are making are even valid in the first place. But I think more importantly, on the topic of faulty World Cup match balls, I want to discuss how FIFA is actually scamming everyone, including Adidas themselves, with their FIFA Approved system. Now, if you guys do end up enjoying today's video and perhaps want to see more news topic style videos on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. For those that are unfamiliar with the ball, here's some key facts that you should know. This is the Adidas Testar 18. It retails for $165 US, making it the most expensive match ball of all time. It is, of course, the official match ball of the 2018 FIFA World Cup to be held in Russia this summer. Being a match ball as it needs to be, it is FIFA approved. And you notice that logo right below it, that is actually the NFC logo. That's because this is the first ball ever to feature an NFC chip inside, which basically means that you can tap your phone to the ball and it'll give you an Adidas commercial. Not much else is really there as far as features are concerned. The name of the ball is kind of interesting, Testar 18. That's actually a name we have seen before from the Adidas brand for a World Cup match ball. In fact, the very first Adidas supplied World Cup match ball going back to 1970 was called the Testar, with the logic behind the name being that all the matches of that World Cup would be televised, kind of a big deal back in 1970. So because of that, being that the ball would be in every match, it would be the television star, therefore Telstar. Also, the look of the ball is pretty interesting, and in an attempt to appeal to a younger audience for the 2018 World Cup, the design is actually inspired by Minecraft. That last part's not true. Now, complaints in regards to the Testar 18 have come from 3 goalkeepers so far, although since these guys have started to complain, it wouldn't surprise me if more continue to complain as well. But those 3 guys are Pepe Reina, Ter Stegen, as well as De Gea. And they have all complained basically about the same 2 things. The first being that the ball has kind of an unpredictable flight path, meaning that when it's struck from distance, let's say 30 yards plus, it's difficult for them to track. The ball kind of does some unpredictable things in the air, whether that's dropping, whether that's rising, swerving left, swerving right. It does things that would result in being more difficult to stop, which as a goalkeeper, I can understand why they would find that a little bit frustrating. And then something else that Pepe Reina more exclusively complained about is that the new texturing on the ball was very, very slippery and hard to hang on to, which I have some thoughts on that as well. Ultimately, they don't really like it, and they've come to 2 major conclusions as far as suggestions are concerned. Some of them have said that they're just gonna have to get used to it and deal with it because this is inevitably going to be the match ball for the 2018 World Cup. And they've also suggested that maybe Adidas should change it because there's enough time leading up to the World Cup, which I think is very, very unlikely. It's also kind of interesting that all 3 of these guys are Adidas endorsed athletes, meaning that they are actually paid by Adidas to wear Adidas products. That's boots as well as gloves, considering that they're goalkeepers. So you would think that maybe they'd be a little bit more reluctant to complain about an Adidas product, but obviously that hasn't stopped them, and I'm not sure Adidas is gonna do anything about it either. Now, as far as their complaints are concerned, I definitely think that there's at least some validity to the ball being unpredictable in terms of how it flies through the air. And if we look at Adidas's history of World Cup match balls, especially over the last couple of tournaments, this probably comes to mind. The 2010 World Cup match ball, the Adidas Jabulani. This ball I've had since 2010, so obviously it's quite durable, but this ball has the famous reputation of being extremely wonky in terms of how it flies through the air. If you kick the ball the exact same way 5 times, 2 or 3 out of those times, it's gonna do something that you weren't expecting it to do, not by your own fault, but just based on how this ball travels through the air. It'll dip, it'll swerve left, it'll swerve right, it'll rise, then it'll drop. It does all kinds of weird things when flying through the air, especially when struck with specific techniques. But even so, when you're crossing the ball, when you've shot the ball, whether it's a long pass, it tends to do some really weird stuff. There were lots of complaints from both players as well as goalkeepers during the tournament as well as prior to the tournament way back in 2010, but ultimately this is the ball that they ended up using anyways, even though it was more or less a faulty product. Now, when it comes to the performance of the new Telstar 18 match ball, I definitely think it's no Jabulani in terms of being unpredictable and how it flies through the air, but it's also not that drastically different than what we got in 2014 with the Adidas Bazooka match ball. This is kind of an evolution of what we got 4 years ago with the Bazooka. It's kind of the same general panel design. Yes, the panels are a little bit thicker, it's a slightly different material, and technically the panel shape itself is different, but the overall feel and experience is not huge as far as big changes are concerned, but there shouldn't be. I think a match ball for the most part should feel like a match ball. As far as unpredictability in terms of long distance shots, I think that honestly it's more so dependent on the way that you strike the ball, the technique that you use. If you're striking the ball with a regular technique, for the most part, it's gonna react like a regular soccer ball. But with proper technique, if you strike it in such a way where there's very little spin on the ball, it definitely does have a tendency to be a little bit more unpredictable than say a Nike Ordam match ball would, or even Adidas's own Champions League match ball. That will be more consistent and certainly track, I guess, more consistently through the air than what we have right here with the Telstar 18. So there definitely is some validity to the complaints of these goalkeepers, but do I think that this ball is so unpredictable that it's basically a faulty product or just gonna break long distance shots and make it impossible for these goalkeepers to save anything? Definitely not. I don't think the product is as bad as these guys are trying to make it out. As far as complaints about the texturing are concerned, it's definitely worth noting that all three of these goalkeepers play in leagues that use a Nike match ball that will have a different surface texturing in comparison to this. And all these guys have also played in the Champions League, where again, that match ball will have a slightly different texturing, although definitely fairly similar to what we see here on the Telstar 18. If you look closely, you can see it has kind of this checkerboard finish to the surface. It's a very, very minor amount of texturing, definitely nothing overly significant. However, this is not actually the first time we've seen this texture from Adidas on one of their match balls. Right here is the Bundesliga match ball, the Torfa Brick from the 2016-2017 season, and you can see up close, it has the exact same texturing, even though this is the old Bazooka variant design. So this actual panel material and texturing is nothing new. It was used in the Bundesliga for at least an entire season, and nobody complained about it then, so there's not really much of a reason to complain about it now. I think the complaints come from the ball just being something that they're simply not used to. So in conclusion, I definitely agree that the Telstar 18 does have that level of unpredictability that the Nike Ordam match ball that these guys would all use in their leagues does not have. And also the Champions League Adidas match ball, that doesn't have that unpredictability aspect to it as well. So I definitely understand why they are complaining. However, is this new match ball so unpredictable that it's unsafe and it's gonna ruin the FIFA World Cup? That I'm not so sure about, but I definitely do understand the complaints. Now, basically at this point, what's been put out to the public through the media with the comments of these goalkeepers is that Adidas is producing a product that simply is not good enough. But is Adidas to fault, or is FIFA at fault here? Because ultimately, this is FIFA approved. This right here is the FIFA approved stamp. It needs to be on any ball used in an official FIFA sanctioned match. They just actually changed the logo a little bit about 1.5 years ago. It used to just say FIFA approved. Now the highest certification level is FIFA Quality Pro. And you'll also notice there's a code right below. That code, if you go in FIFA's database on their website, will match up with this specific ball as officially being FIFA approved. You might be wondering, what does FIFA approved actually mean? Now, in order to get your ball FIFA approved, FIFA themselves actually do the testing mainly to ensure the quality and consistency of the product itself. What specific tests do they run? I took notes. There are two levels of FIFA approved match balls, one being FIFA inspected, the other being full-on FIFA approved. FIFA inspected basically means that it runs through 6 different tests, has to meet all the requirements within each of those tests, and if it does, it gets the FIFA inspected stamp. However, FIFA approved, it's a much more strict test. It's all the same 6 tests plus 1 extra. The requirements are a little bit more strict, and if it passes all of those tests again, it will get the FIFA approved stamp, their highest level of certification. Those tests include the weight of the ball. It can only be so heavy and it can only be so light. It doesn't have to be a specific weight, but it has to be within that approved range. It has to have a consistent circumference. They test for permanent roundness, making sure that the ball can maintain its shape over an extended period of time. They test for minimal pressure loss over an extended period of time. I would assume that as long as it doesn't lose any significant pressure over the course of 45 minutes, the referee can put more air in the ball at halftime if need be, but I'm not sure exactly what the time frame is for that. They also test for minimal water absorption for obvious reasons. You don't want the ball absorbing a ton of water and just being super heavy in rainy conditions. They also test for uniform rebound, which I think is a particularly important category because it essentially implies the consistency of the ball no matter what part of the ball is being kicked. You want it to always feel the same. And then finally, they test for the shape and size retention of the ball. They also perform a material analysis along with a few other things, but if you actually go to FIFA's own website, you can see all the different tests that they run that I just talked about explained in much greater detail, and even see how they actually perform the tests. It's pretty cool to see if you're into that kind of thing, but ultimately, is it that important? That's something I'm starting to question. Now, the whole FIFA approved thing sounds like a really good thing because they're essentially standardizing specific requirements that need to be met in order for the ball to be FIFA approved, which in theory would allow for more consistency, but that is clearly not the case. And anybody that's used a wide variety of match balls, either over the course of a season or over the course of several years, this match ball feels and performs completely different from this match ball, even though they're both FIFA approved. So really, what value is the FIFA approved system bringing to the consistency of what the final product from all these brands actually ends up being? In my opinion, it's really not valuable at all. Again, just because it's a perfect example, the 2010 World Cup match ball, the Adidas Jabulani, yes, this is FIFA approved. It met all of their requirements, but their testing clearly does not account for the actual performance characteristics of the ball, the way that it actually feels, the way that it flies through the air, which, if you ask me, that's the most important aspect of a soccer ball. That's the part that you as a player or as a goalkeeper are going to have to get used to. And if the ball itself is so broken that it actually makes it somewhat unpredictable, then again, what is the point of the whole FIFA approved system if the end result is not a consistent product? Because that is kind of what the whole testing process sets out to do in the first place, and clearly it's not working because every single match ball from every brand, even the two Adidas match balls that Adidas always has on offer, they're both FIFA approved, but they always end up feeling different. So again, where's the value of FIFA approved? Here's why the whole FIFA approval system is a big scam. A lot of people don't realize this. Adidas pays FIFA, who obviously owns and operates the World Cup every 4 years, to supply the World Cup match ball. Whatever sum of money that is, I'm sure it's out there on the internet. I have not looked it up because it's not super important. But obviously, Adidas makes a return on their investment by selling a bunch of World Cup match balls. However, that's where the FIFA approved system comes into play, because ultimately FIFA gets their logo right on the ball. It's the FIFA approved badge. Now that FIFA approved badge doesn't get there for free. You actually have to pay FIFA, whether you're Adidas, whether you're Nike, whether you go and make your own ball that you want to get FIFA approved. If you want that approval, you have to send it to FIFA, pay whatever their fee is to get the testing done, hope that your product passes the test, and then get that FIFA approved stamp on your ball. How much does that testing phase actually cost to get the ball tested in the first place? That I'm not really sure, but I would guarantee that it's probably very expensive, which is part of the reason why you don't see too many FIFA approved products outside of the really big brands. Guess what? Your ball, it's FIFA approved. It passed all the tests. But if you want to have that stamp on your product when you sell it, guess what? You have to pay FIFA for every single ball that has their logo on it, has that FIFA approved stamp, as long as you're selling that product. Again, I'm not sure what that amount of money is. I'm not sure if it's related to the retail cost of the ball itself, but I'm sure it's a significant amount of money. And if you consider how many World Cup match balls alone Adidas sells with the FIFA approved stamp, I'm sure FIFA is making quite a bit of money off of those individual royalties. So all of that to say that the whole FIFA approved system is one big money grab. Yes, all of these match balls are meeting their minimum requirements, but what they're actually testing has basically no impact on how the final product will end up feeling or performing, which ultimately is the most important aspect of all of these match balls. The proof is what's been out there for several years now with these match balls. Every new design from every single brand feels and performs differently. Some better, some significantly worse. And I think the Telstar 18, the Bazooka, and of course the 2010 Jabulani are great examples of match balls that definitely do have inconsistencies in how they fly through the air and are certainly less predictable and just straight up different than other match balls out there. Does FIFA care? Clearly not. They're just taking the money and running with it. If FIFA really cared about the consistency and performance characteristics of these approved match balls, then balls like the 2010 World Cup Adidas Jabulani, maybe even the Adidas Telstar 18, would never make it to the World Cup because they quite simply wouldn't be good enough. They wouldn't be allowed because of the inconsistency in how they perform. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on this situation. I know a lot of people really wanted to make a big deal out of these complaints with the goalkeepers in regards to Adidas themselves, but I think you can only fault Adidas so much for this particular situation because yes, they made a product that does have some unpredictability to it, but ultimately FIFA approved it. It's their tournament. Adidas is paying to be the official match ball supplier of the FIFA World Cup, so they have to have the final say. And if they approve it, then hey, there's not really much else that Adidas can do or should do. Again, all the blame is here on FIFA, but let me know what your thoughts are on this topic down below in the comment section. Or if you have any questions for me at all, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I possibly can. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching.